Okay, Joycelyn? John?
Yes, here.
Michael?
Here.
Okay, and I'm looking at Rita and Ron, so I know they're here. So I'll go back to Joycelyn.
I'm taking that she's here because we heard from her a little bit earlier, so.
Okay.
Next item of business is we have approval of the minutes from our February 25th.
Well, actually, and then we'll go back to approve the agenda.
Okay,
Brent.
all right, well, let's move to approve the agenda. So all those in favor of approving the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Over anxious this morning. So we've done the roll call. Next item is approval of the February 25th minutes. Anybody have any questions about them or seen anything about them that they want changed? Motion to approve the minutes.
I would, John Laney.
Second, Joycelyn.
Okay. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 You all sound very full-throated this morning. So, I think the motion passed. So we're now down to a construction update, and I turn it over to staff.
Okay, in your packet or on the presentation, we're going to do our traditional construction update, just kind of let you know where we are. So if we go to the next slide, please. This is the dashboard or the placemat. Looking at it again, just reminding everybody how we've got this arranged now. Up at the top of the list, these are projects that are completely closed out and finished. So if they've got the black behind them, that means they're done. If they've got the green behind them, that means that they are in some level of activity, one way or another. And then the white ones are still pending, or that we're in some way. I know Jake is on the call, and he can definitely weigh in on some of this if we have additional questions. But one thing that I did want to point out is that if you look at the green column, take it all the way across to construction paid and percentage, some of those percentages are pretty low. And you would think that something like Colburn Road, for example, which is virtually done, and we'll see this in a little bit. I mean, the carpet is going down. You would expect that percentage maybe to be a little higher than 29% when you're at a point where carpet and painting is being done. But there is just a little bit of a lag that's associated with all of this, but everything is still on target. I'd still say if you go all the way, so go to the column that says JE done current, feed that all the way down to the bottom, 84.5. That was our budget, and our soft cost contingency is 2.1 million. And so when you look at our expenditures, our actual expenditures, 48 million. Budget in terms of what we have spent and what we expect to spend is still 84.5 million, with 2.1 million left in the contingency fee. And you can see we kind of walk that all down later on, so that when we have the total, so you go about a little bit more than midway through the page, and the line that says total, that is 55.2 million. Then you have the 40.4 million, which that's basically everything that's left, everything that's in the green and everything that's in the white, plus additional project expenses that are left. There's architect fees, et cetera, land acquisition fees. And so you can see what's the amount that's left, and we're still right on budget in terms of where we need to be. So Jake, anything to add in terms of the placemat? You may be on mute.
You've covered that well.
Okay. All right. Great. So before we go to pictures and things like that, any questions on where we are with the committee dashboard? Okay, let's go to the next slide, please. And this is our, what's the status? What did we do last month? What are we doing this month? What are we doing next month? So if we go to the next slide. Last month, We had the opening of the South Independence branch and the substantial completion of the Grandview branch. And, you know, given everything that we worked through with the pandemic and just, you know, everything, it's always exciting to me when we get projects finished and can get them finished safely. So if we go to the next slide. This is what we're doing this month of March. We had the Grandview opening on March the 19th, and then we closed Blue Ridge the next day on the 20th. And that was always by design. Grandview and Blue Ridge, they don't share a customer base, but they neighbor each other. So if somebody was going to visit one branch because the other one was closed, we needed to make sure that the neighboring branch was open. And so that was the plan, and that's exactly what happened. And then the Colburn Road Punch Walk, that's basically where Jake and the OAC team and everybody sort of walks through, and we find, we determine this wall wasn't painted correctly, or, you know, this toilet was installed wrong. We create that punch list from the punch walk, which is really about the last thing that happens before before the building's fully commissioned and turned over to us to start installing furniture and installing the shelving and start moving the books back in. The next, and then the last thing that's on here is the Whitney Homestead. We're trying to keep you up to date on this. I mean, because while there's still some room for us to work on the Whitney Homestead, in some way, depending upon your perspective, we are either right at the end, or we've still got a lot of time to go. So if you're someone like me who's been involved with Whitney for 12 years, we're right at the end. We are getting some feedback from someplace. I'm not sure where it's coming from. So where we are at Woodneath is the wood flooring and plaster installation are occurring, which is again, you know, it's probably still a good 2 months before the Woodneath Homestead's done. But if you've been working on it for 12 years, it feels like it's just around the corner. So next slide, please. What's coming up next month? So Colburn Road substantial completion is targeted for April the 12th. And the Lee Summit branch will be out for bid on April the 14th. And so I think if we hold the form, we should have the guaranteed maximum price for Lee Summit branch at our next meeting, which will be good. And in terms of the Woodneath house, painting the trim and doors, installing the fire shutter, and refinishing the wood floors. So that's what is happening over the next month. Jake, anything to add?
No, the Colburn Road is going to be a really exciting opening, I think, and I'm excited to get that back open so that we can make sure that folks are looking at it. It's just a beautiful building.
I've been there a couple of times myself, and we'll look at some pictures here in a second. One thing that I do want to mention, and Jake, I'm going to throw you a curveball. Sorry about that. Is we're not talking about Green Hills on here, and you know we've been working on Green Hills. We've got the GMP for Green Hills, so we've been having it's not so much us. Basically, if we're using a tennis analogy, all the balls are in other people's courts in terms of what's happening with Green Hills. My understanding is that the majority of the delay right now is being caused by the developer, Bill Mann, and his challenges, not with us, but with the city of Kansas City. So we're just waiting for him to get his stuff settled with the city of Kansas City so we can finally dot all the i's, cross the t's, and then start working on the Green Hills project. So anything to add, Jake? Is that fair?
I think that's a fair assessment. I would also say that the city of Kansas City has been extremely difficult to deal with. They're short-staffed. They're not really willing to work with. We're having some issues with the Woodneath Homestead as well, from a permitting viewpoint, and we had some issues with Woodneath before we started work on that. So there's a little bit of that. There's a lot of difficulties with Green Hills because of the way the ownership is and the way we're trying to move, but we are trying to move forward as quickly as possible. We do hope to be getting some dirt turned in April. So.
Brent, Rita has a question, and she's raising her hand here. So how do you want me to kind of field and
If you
feed
could,
to
I
you
can't
for-
see her. So
Yeah, so go ahead, Rita.
Okay. What happened to the signage at Green Hills?
Is it no longer there?
No, there's no signage.
Okay, don't know. Jake, can we look into what happened to our signage at Green Hills?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
and
Hey, Steve, this is Jim Staley.
Hey, Jim.
Hey, yeah, we actually, I don't know if you remember back, I don't know, I guess it was maybe December, we decided to take the signage down. We
did
the
remember
library
that.
instructed J.E. Dunn to take it down because we didn't yet own the property. Because we
Oh.
had closed on the property.
Okay. And so but I do see Rita's point. We probably should be doing something, and we are closer to probably a formal groundbreaking or something. So, so we can coordinate with J.E. Dunn, figure out what's happening in terms of grade, make sure that we're not going to put it someplace that's going to be a problem, and go from there. Thank you, Jake, Jim.
so this is Brent Schottemar. Do we own the property now? We do.
No, I mean, we have to wait. We've done everything
Okay.
on our side, but we have to wait we are waiting for Bill Mann to finish up some of his stuff with the city so that he can finish the transaction with us. But there's nothing preventing us on our side. He just has to finish some things on his side so that he can sell it.
I see Michelle Wyckoff is with us and she's raised her hand, so I'm going to call on Michelle.
Or any of the things that would need something that like we need to get a hold of Heather Hall and see if she can help us move some of those things along.
Woodneath, no. What I keep hearing, I sat in on a meeting called the OAC meeting, which is the owners, architects and contractors meeting. And we talk about this all the time. And based on my read of that meeting, and Jake is actually our primary contact on that. And I sat in on maybe 75% of that meeting. Based on what I'm hearing, it's not so, the only thing that, what J.E. Dunn's saying, the only thing that Heather might be able to help us with is if she could get more staff in the planning and permitting departments, because it's just taking a long time for stuff to get from point A to point B. They keep losing new staff and having to train new people, and it takes a while to get them trained back up again. But no,
Okay,
it's.
so what you're saying is we're having a problem getting permitting, and she could help us do that. I mean, the fact that they don't have staff, I mean, I know you guys realize after this long of knowing, like, that's an unacceptable excuse. We're trying to build and do stuff. If there's something she can help us with, then maybe we need to call her.
I can.
The city is with all the nonsense from Whitney and the first time and all this stuff. I mean, we just need to. If she can help us, we need to use that to our advantage.
What Jake and I will do is we'll talk with the OAC team, see where things are stalled and target those, and then we will contact Heather Hall about that.
Question from John Laney. What city staff member are you dealing with? Is there one principal staff member that is coordinating the requests for permits?
No,
Jake,
unfortunately, they don't work like Lee Summit. We have one particular staff member that we coordinate with Lee Summit, but in Kansas City, it's pretty much a throw of the dice as to who you're going to get.
And what department are you dealing with primarily?
It's essentially you do the process through a system called Compass, and it goes to the different departments that they need depending on what you're permitting for. You know, some the water people deal with one part of it, the fire marshal deals with the other, the building folks deal with another, and it just seems to be like it's very discombobulated at times.
Okay, just as a suggestion, you might want to contact the director of the City Development Department, Planning and City Development Department, and see if someone from that department, Planner 3, could be assigned to this to coordinate it, because they are on the committee that you talked about, and that they usually have someone assigned to coordinate it. So it would really help a lot if you could have a staff member who would be responsible to the director of city development, and so that it might be well to ask for that to happen. And I believe they will do that. City development that's what they're supposed to be doing.
This is Brent Schoenemeyer. I appreciate everybody's comments. I think our staff has heard us. Let's put that as an agenda item for next month, just so we can sort of track it. I think our point is that I thought we owned a property, my error, and that we have a project we want to undertake, and we have construction crews that we'd like to mobilize, and can we do that? So appreciate the good and interesting discussion. So
The one thing, two things I'll say. One thing is that certainly J.E. Dunn has projects all over Kansas City, and one of the things that they are suggesting to us is that we are not unique, not special, that this is happening to everybody. That doesn't mean that it's acceptable. I'm just saying that we're not in a unique position. So I thank all of the guidance and the direction, and so I've got that on our two Kansas City projects, and on Green Hills, we'll work on the signage additionally. So I appreciate all of that. This is helpful.
Hey, Steve, and I'm not trying to say that we're special, but Heather has a vested interest in Whitney.
Right.
And so I just think that she will, I just think she cares a little bit more about that.
Yeah, no, I get it, Michelle. And it's certainly one of the things that different conversation. I was involved in an economic incentives program conversation with developers, and basically told them, and I'll repeat it here, that if given my choice between building a building in Kansas City and moving it 2 or 3 blocks so I don't have to build it in Kansas City, just to avoid this sort of headache, that's what I would do every single time. And
right.
And all of these developers said the same thing. I mean, it's
a nightmare. So, I mean,
yeah.
My hat's off to all of you, but I think she could help, or she would at least want to if she can.
She would want to if she can. That's absolutely true. And so we'll follow up on that. Thank you. So I think the next slides that we have are the construction updates. So this is Colburn Road, and as we've discussed at Colburn Road, we are pretty far along. You can see carpets down, flooring and finishes are down. The service counter, you can see that the fellow there in the middle is working on that. The thing that's on the bottom left-hand side that looks like it might be wall studs and may look like it's way far behind. That's not what that is. That's actually part of the coffee shop that's built at Colburn Road. So that's the way it's supposed to look. That's not wall studs. It's actually like a slab wall that's done on purpose that way. But as you can see, Colburn Road is really, really, really close. The next slide, I think, is going to be, what is it? Woodneath. And so Woodneath this is what tends to happen on, in early projects, particularly early projects in the winter, is there's not a lot of movement on Woodneath in terms of the construction that's happening. And part of it's because of the snow and the cold weather and things like that. But the footings are going in, and the concretes and grade work is continuing to progress. So. And I think do we have one more? I can't remember if we have another update. Is there another update on the next slide? Is that it? Okay.
That's it.
Okay. So that's the construction update for right now.
So this is Brent Schoenemeyer. Anybody have any questions about the projects that we've seen, or any actually projects at large? Just a quick aside, I was by Colburn Road. To Jake's point, it's really extraordinary looking. I was actually inside East Lee Summit on Saturday, and I saw Steve Potter picking books for our patrons. And then I think Joycelyn was in visited Grandview, and you want to say anything about what you saw in Grandview, Joycelyn? Apparently not.
Get the right mic here. There I am. Grandview is an amazing transformation. I can't even remember what it looked like before. The amount of usable space has been greatly expanded. You know, having the double entrances, while it creates issues for staff, it makes it much more convenient coming in from the parking lots. It's a beautiful building, and from what I saw, the first day it opened, it was quite busy. And I got to see Jim Staley pulling books for customers as well. But well done, well done. These are exciting projects, and the excitement from the communities is palpable. So.
Thank you, Joycelyn. I think that's it for our open session. So we're going to go into closed session, and I'm going to give a couple of prefatory comments. Is that we're going into closed session because it involves property. It involves, if you look at our dashboard, some of the projects at the very end of it all, and staff is looking for some direction from us. So it's not that we will be making decisions in closed session, is that we just want to be able to have a appropriate discussion about our options, about where it is that we might locate library services relative to property. So if somebody could make the motion, is it on the screen? We will have a vote and then go into closed session.
I move that we go into closed session. John Laney.
And John's motion is in reference to what you see on the screen, calls closed session, bullet number 5. So is there a second?
Second it, Michael.
Thank you, Michael. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
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 Okay. We might have a minute till we go into closed session, and I leave it up to Steve Potter to determine what staff he wants in the closed session.
Yeah, actually, I think what we'll do at this point is Cody, will turn it over to you. Do your magic with Zoom and let us know when you're in closed session. The way I understand this is happening is we are all staying put, and Cody is moving the public into a breakout room. So,
Okay.
Yes, so I'm gonna stop the live feed. So when we
stop
end
the live
closed session, if you can give me a few seconds to get it restarted when we get back into the open meeting, that would help me greatly. But I'm gonna go ahead and get stopped on the live feed and get everyone else moved over.
just tell us when